सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, so thank you all very much, Samrita Mataji. Thank you for joining. So we have been reading from Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, and we were doing this verse number 30, and the purport we almost read, but some part is remaining where it was about the offenses. एक मिनट में दरवाजा खुल जाती हूँ ना.
Yes.
Okay, so we were at verse number 30. We were reading the offenses. So this chapter, somebody want to remember something from what we read last time?
The only thing I remember is the soul goes through so many coverings before it can reach the spiritual planets. The things I remember is it has to go through the coverings of seven or six coverings of
seven. Earth, water, fire, air,
ether, false ego,
and then false ego, mind, and intelligence.
And it is very complicated process. In the purport, Prabhupada describes how bhakti yoga is much more easier. And then you just have to chant, and the bhakti lata beach will keep growing. And then he described the three stages, where you're in the nama aparad stage, the nama bhas stage, and the shuddhanam stage. And the only thing which can if we don't do the aparad, then we can keep growing in this bhakti yoga, and we don't need to know all these technicalities. Just need to chant the names, devotee association, all the five major things we need to keep doing. We don't need to understand all these technicalities. So I'm not remembering all the technicalities. I was just focusing here, but it was otherwise it is very technical how this yogis will reach the spiritual planet.
Yeah, that's what we are hearing in this section from 22 to 32, where karma mukti or gradual liberation. So we saw that how, depending upon the maturity of a devotee, yogi, he passes through all those heavenly planets and everything. And then if you are attached to something or got attracted to something, then you are done and you have to stay there. You cannot go further, right? And and before that we heard that the process of leaving for a yogi, right? How it was. So that we heard that Shishumar and all that stuff, right? And then this part also we heard that how when one is absorbed in and so when one understands that he is the spirit soul, when one is beyond the attachment of bodily attachments, and then one merges in the super soul, then at that time it is that that stage was called, what is that? Labdo Apshanti. So Labdo Shanti, basically one is peaceful when one is free from bodily conception of life, right? And then how those chakras described. Your phone is unmuted and it is active. Mute your phone, Prabhu. Okay, so then now let us continue reading those offenses. 10 offenses against the holy name that Srila Prabhupada is describing in the purport. Someone wants to read in purport of verse number 30.
I can read, Mataji. Do you want me to share the screen, Mataji?
Oh, I can share.
Yeah, while you share, I can start reading, Mataji.
Okay, yeah, you start.
So therefore, he should be mindful of the following considerations. Number one, offense by one at the feet of a pure devotee may be likened to the mad elephant who devastates a very good garden if it enters. Number two, one must be very careful to guard himself against such offenses at the feet of pure devotees, just as one protects a creeper by all-round fencing. 3. It so happens that by the watering process, some weeds are also grown, and unless such weeds are uprooted, the nurturing of the main creeper or the creeper of Bhakti Yoga may be hampered. 4. Actually, these weeds are material enjoyment, merging of the self in the absolute without separate individuality. Many others desires in the field of religion, economic development, sense enjoyment, and emancipation. 5. There are many other weeds like disobedience to the tenets of the revered scriptures, unnecessary engagements, killing animals, and hankering after material gain, prestige, and adoration. 6. If sufficient care is not taken, then the watering process may only help to breed the weeds, stunting the healthy growth of the main creeper and resulting in no fructification of the ultimate requirement, love of God. 7. The devotee must therefore be very careful to approach the different weeds in the very beginning. Only then will the healthy growth of the main creeper not be stunted. 8. And by so doing, the devotee is able to relish the fruit of love of God and thus live practically with Lord Krishna even in this life and be able to see the Lord in every step. The highest perfection of life is to enjoy life constantly in the association of the Lord. And one who can relish this does not aspire after any temporary enjoyment of the material world via other medium. Haribol.
Haribol. Yeah, actually, it's not like.
Yeah, it's not the offense.
It's just a general thing.
Yes.
So basically, you want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji. So again, as like the Vaishnava Aparadh, Prabhupada is mentioning that we should not do the Vaishnava Aparadh because like a mad elephant can destroy everything which is good. We can do that by the Vaishnava Aparadh. And then we have to make sure that this creeper the Bhakti Lata is getting the right amount of everything. The water is being given the right thing, and we are not letting the weeds to grow. So these weeds could be of different kinds, like material enjoyment, disobedience. We are getting engaged in Maya, and if we are not watering it properly, like we're not hearing or chanting properly, then the main creeper, we're not giving him the right environment to grow. So his growth will be stunted. So if we want to get to the foremost level of stage of bhakti, that is prema, then we need to make sure that this is getting the right environment and we are taking care of that. The weeds, when they start growing, we just uproot them immediately so that the growth of this creeper is not stunted.
Yeah. So what is the weed? Is the sense enjoyment, and sense enjoyment or merging of the self in the absolute without separate. So that impersonal Brahma Jyoti merging into the. So basically, what is that? Kama and moksha, right? Yeah. Disobedience to the tenets of so it is that disobey the orders of spiritual master and scriptures, right? This one, number 5, that Srila Prabhupada is writing, which is very, very dangerous actually. Without that, we cannot continue in our spiritual life. So that submission has to be there to the authority. Yeah. Yeah, see here, the watering process may only help in breed the weeds, stunning the healthy growth of main creeper and resulting in no
We are very
the
busy
ultimate.
student and
Okay. Yeah, so basically we should
won't be able to give time to.
about committing offenses and very careful that you know that anukulena krishna anushilanam bhakti uttama, that part, and also that the six limbs of surrender, accepting things which are favorable for krishna consciousness and rejecting those things which are not favorable for krishna consciousness, right? We have to be very careful about. So let's continue on the next verse 31. Someone wants to read?
I can read Mataji.
Yeah, ma'am.
Text verse number 31. Hold on, Mataji.
Your phone is echoing because I think your phone and Prabhu's phone is somewhere close by.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Verse 31.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Yeah. Tenatmatmanam apeti santam anandam anandamayo avasane etam gatim bhagavatim gato yaha save punarneha visajeta anga. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Only the purified soul can attain the perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in his constitutional state. Whoever is able to renovate such devotional perfection is never again attracted by this material world and he never returns. Purport. We should specially note in this verse the description of Gatim Bhagavati to become merged in the race of the Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as desired by the Brahmavadi impersonalist, is not Bhagavati, perfection. The Bhagavatas never accept merging in the impersonal race of the Lord, but always aspire after personal association with the Supreme Lord in one of the Vaikuntha spiritual planets in the spiritual sky. The whole of the spiritual sky, of which the total number of the material skies is only an insignificant part, is full of unlimited numbers of Vaikuntha planets. The destination of the devotees, the Bhagavata, is to enter into one of the Vaikuntha planets, in each of which the personality of Godhead, in his unlimited personal expansions, enjoys himself in the association of unlimited numbers of pure devotees associates. The conditioned soul in the material world, after gaining emancipation by devotional service, are promoted to these planets. But the number of ever liberated souls is far, far greater than the number of conditioned souls in the material world, and the ever liberated souls in the Vaikuntha planets never care to visit this miserable material world. The impersonalists who aspire to merge in the impersonal Brahma Jyoti effulgence of the Supreme Lord but have no conception of loving devotional service to Him in His personal form in the spiritual manifestation may be compared to certain species of fish who bring born in the rivers and rivulets migrate to the great ocean. They cannot stay in the ocean identity
Indefinitely.
indefinitely, for their urge for sense gratification bring them back to the rivers and streams to spawn. Similarly, when the materialist becomes frustrated in his attempts to enjoy himself in the limited material world, he may seek impersonal liberation by merging either with the causal ocean or with the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence. However, as neither the causal ocean nor the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence affords any superior substitute for association and engagement of the senses, the impersonalist will fall again into the limited material world to become entangled once more in the wheel of birth and death, drawn on by the inextinguishable desire for sensual engagement. But any devotee who enters the kingdom of God by transcendental engagement of his senses in devotional service and who associate with the liberated souls and the personality of Godhead there will never be attracted to the limited surroundings of the material world.
Manaji,
In
what is long? So you want to continue, or you want to just say something, and then somebody else want to read that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So let
Yes.
me speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here Srila Prabhupada said about the impersonalists and the devotees, the Bhagavata devotees. The impersonalists, they merge into the impersonal Brahmi Jyoti, and over there they don't have any like they means that there are no devotional service over there, so they come again into this material world.
Mm.
But the Bhagavatam, the devotees, they always go to the Vaikuntha planets by the devotional service, and they're always happy there, so they don't entangle in this material world.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, always devotee want association and service of the Lord, because
Right.
there's no satisfaction, because bhakti or any relationship means that there has to be a bhakta, there has to be Bhagwan, and there has to be some exchange, which is devotional service, right?
Mm.
Krishna reciprocates. Without that, there is no meaning of any relationship or bhakti. Bhakti means bhakta, Bhagwan, and devotional services. Otherwise, it will not, there is no relationship. Like we can see how in Western world and now in India also, uh, when people are alone because of not being able to be in a relationship, because of the independence, actually because of the, what do you call, the mentality of independence and impersonalism, they are not able to establish or stay in a relationship, and then they want some cats and dogs, right? So that is what, like, okay, I wish to live alone. And then just like Srila Prabhupada is saying here, that the rivers are merging in the ocean, but still because of the want of enjoyment, because there is no enjoyment when there is no service or no relationship, then there is no enjoyment, so they fall back again. So just like people in the West who decide to live alone, and then they are finding it difficult, and then they find cats and dogs and pets, right? And I remember in one of the purports somewhere, Srila Prabhupada writes that the relationship has to be like, the proper relationship is between the same species, actually, means human with human, and animals with animals, like that. Yeah. Okay, one second, one more thing I wanted to say. Yeah, this analogy and this. And I just want to see this word in the verse where in the beginning of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying Gatim Bhagavatim, Gatim Bhagavatim. Yeah, in the third line, Etam Gatim Bhagavatim Gatoyaha. So, and Gatim Bhagavatim, what is attained by, one second. Gatim Bhagavati means destination, devotional. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, that merging into the Brahman effulgence is not the path of the Bhagavatam, and it's not the Gati of a Bhagavata either. So there is only and only desire of the devotees to serve. And there are so many prayers of devotees where they say that, even Vritrasura also says that Nayo na sarvabhaumam na cha rasadipatyam na, what is that? Na yoga siddhi apunarbhamam va, right? If it is at the cost of leaving your service, then I don't desire any of this yog siddhi or sarvabhauma, meaning the becoming a Brahma, or nothing, or even liberation also I don't want. And there are devotees who pray that it's better for me to live like a worm instead of, getting that impersonal Brahma Jyoti kind of thing. So there are many, if we see nectar of devotion, in the beginning chapters, there are so many quotes, Srila Prabhupada quotes about the superiority of bhakti. And when a devotee is really a pure devotee, they don't even think of liberation actually. All right, so let's continue the purport. Somebody wants to read?
Okay, Mataji, I'll read.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. We
It
should
is
further.
in the
Bhagavad
just
Gita
correct.
8.15, also the same is confirmed as the Lord says, the great Mahatmas or the Bhakti Yogis are, after attaining my association, never come back to this material world, which is full of miseries and is non-permanent. The highest perfection of life, therefore, is to attain his association and nothing else. Bhakti Yoga, being completely engaged in the Lord's service, has no attraction for any other process of liberation, like jnana or yoga. A pure devotee is 100% devotee of the Lord and nothing more. We should further note in this verse the two words Santam and Anandam, which denote the devotional service of the Lord can really bestow upon the devotee two important benedictions, namely peace and satisfaction. The impersonalist is desirous of becoming one with the Supreme, or in other words, he wants to become the Supreme. This is a myth only. Mystic yogis become encumbered by various mystic powers and so have neither peace nor satisfaction. So neither the impersonalist nor the yogi can have real peace and satisfaction. Where did it go?
Here, but the devotee can become fully.
But the devotee can become fully peaceful and satisfied because of his association with the complete whole. Therefore, merging in the absolute or attaining some mystic powers has no attraction for the devotee. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yeah. Just finish.
Attainment of love of Godhead means complete freedom from all other attractions. The conditioned soul has many aspirations, such as becoming a religious man, a rich man, or first class enjoyer, or becoming God himself, or becoming powerful like the mystics and acting wonderfully by getting anything or doing anything. But all these aspirations should be rejected by the prospective devotee who actually wants to revive the dormant love of God, revive his dormant love of God. The impure devotees aspires after all of the above mentioned material things by perfection of devotion. But a pure devotee has none of the tinges of above contaminations, which are the influence of material desires, impersonal speculation, and attainment of mystic powers. One can attain the stage of love of God by pure devotional service or by a learned labor of love for the sake of the devotee's lovable object, the personality of God. To be more clear, if one wants to attain the stage of love of Godhead, he must give up all desires for material enjoyment. He should refrain from worshipping any of the demigods, and he should devote himself only to the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He must give up the foolish idea of becoming one with the Lord and the desire of having some wonderful powers just to get the ephemeral adoration of the world. The pure devotee is only favorably engaged in the service of the Lord, without any hope of emolument. This will bring about love of Godhead, or the stage of Santam and Anandam, as stated in this verse.
Very good. You want to say something?
Yeah, Mataji. Again, we're continuously comparing how a pure devotee is different from impersonalists on so many different levels. How bhakti yoga is really what we should aspire for, what we should work towards for, because it has zero specks of contamination with material aspirations.
Yeah.
And the two benedictions that we do get from doing bhakti yoga is peace and satisfaction, which impersonalists don't get it, even with all their mystic powers and whatnot. So the focus should again be, especially for us, that we should concentrate on our bhakti, engaging in the transcendental service or God's service, because we really can't to even try to get these yogic powers or mystic powers is not what's going to achieve us the love of God.
Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada, he quoted this verse of Bhagavad Gita 8:15, Mam upetya punrajanma dukhalyam ashashvatam, right? In the material world, it is dukhalyam everywhere, no matter where you go. Napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim parmam gataha. So once we reach the abode of Krishna, then we don't have to take birth again, don't have to go for the miserable life of this material world. So specifically the verse is saying that after, like, continuation from the previous verse, like where a yogi who is perfected in his connection with the Lord, then they don't get attracted to any of the planets or any enjoyment on planets have at any stage. So only those they can pass through. So means they are completely pure. They have no attraction for anything, na yoga siddhi or na any other different sun, moon, other planets, right? No enjoyment tendency. Then only they can pass through. Otherwise, they will be stuck. So, and then it says in the verse that it's the complete bliss because they are in association of the Supreme Lord, because he is Satchidanand Vigraha. So when we are in the association of that and not desiring anything for ourselves, then we can also be fully blissful and satisfied. And then in the verse it says that whoever is able to renovate such devotional perfection is never again attracted by this material world, and he never returns. So in that context, Srila Prabhupada is quoting this verse, the second part of the verse, that when one is able to be perfected in devotional service, rendering devotional service, then there is no attraction for the material world. So I remember hearing in a class that it says that the more we decorate our deities, the more we get detached from decorating ourselves. The more we make bhoga for the deities and offer to them, the more we lose the taste for the sense enjoyment by the tongue, like that. Like the more we dress the deities nicely, the more we don't have any desire for ourselves, like buying this and that and decorating ourselves. So it is very, we have developed.
That's beautiful, Mataji.
Right? Yeah, so that is what we are supposed to develop, that kind of attachment to the Supreme Lord. And I remember hearing, okay, before that, let me just go through this. So like in 8:15, Krishna says, and then Srila Prabhupada is pointing out that Shantam and Anandam, right? That was the second part of the word. No, not in the middle, it is saying, which denote that devotional service of the Lord was really, can really bestow upon the devotee two important benedictions you were mentioning, right? Peace and satisfaction. And we cannot get it through other processes or impersonal Brahman realization or yoga the yoga siddhis, right? We know the pastime of Durvasa Muni and Ambrish Maharaj. Ambrish Maharaj is a pure devotee and Durvasa Muni is a yogi. He can go up to Vaikuntha also, but still he is miserable. He had to go back to get relief from the heat of the Sudarshan Chakra, right?
Right, Mother.
Srila Prabhupada says, attainment of love of Godhead means complete freedom from all other attractions. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadinavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. And then Srila Prabhupada is paraphrasing this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is that verse? Bhukti Mukti. Yeah, actually this goes. It is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 19, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atev Shantaha, means he doesn't have any other desire and they are always peaceful. Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. Always they are Ashanta, means they have, because when we have some attachment to something, the mind is always thinking of getting that something, right? So yogis also, and the fruitive workers also, right? Yeah. So if we want to attain that love of Godhead, we must give up all desires for material enjoyment. And I'm remembering in the temple on Saturday morning, His Holiness Navyogendra Maharaj gave a class. And that pastime was when Sanatan Goswami was in the jail of Nawab Hussain Shah, and he was getting released by his diplomacy with a jailkeeper. He was giving him the coins, and then finally he got released. And then his servant Ishan, he carried 8 coins, and on the way in the hotel, where motel hotel that is called inn actually, so where the innkeeper, the hotel owner, they kind of figured out that they have coin and they wanted to kill Sanatan Goswami, but somehow Sanatan Goswami figured it out, and then Ishan gave only 7 coins. He kept 1. So then they left from there to go to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Sanatan Goswami asked Ishan, do you still have something valuable? Then Ishan said, I have 1 coin. And then Sanatan Goswami, without saying anything, told him that you keep that coin and go to your home. You cannot come with me to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if you still have some attachment. So that was so. And Navyogendra Maharaj, His Holiness Navyogendra Maharaj was speaking yesterday in the Sunday feast class, the bhajan, that one, Abhacharan Arvindare, Bhajahure man.
Oh, nice.
Abhacharan Arvindare. In that also we hear the same message, that we cannot attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord if we have any attachment to. So he was speaking about that we should get attached to pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada and follow in their instruction and become submissive to them, and then only we can attain the lotus feet of Nandanandana. Otherwise there is no way. Yeah, so basically we need to cultivate, our process is to cultivate positive attachment to the things which are favorable for our Krishna consciousness. Then automatically the negative stuff falls off automatically. So we should focus more on cultivating that positive. All right, so somebody wants to say something, add something, correct something before we move on. So this one is a nice verse. The 31 was good. Actually, before that it was like something philosophical and kind of difficult part, but now it is moving to.
Mataji, I have a question. So here, this yogi who's described in the translation is seeing the personal form of Paramatma, right? That's why he's going to Vaikuntha. And so we're all describing about a yogi, but this yogi is not impersonalist.
No, not at all impersonalist at all, no.
So he's having the relationship with Paramatma.
Yeah. And then actually, when one starts rendering devotional service, once one understands Paramatma and then one starts rendering devotional service, then it is actually whom are you rendering devotional? You are not going to be able to render devotional service to the super soul, right? So they are doing it to the personal form of the Lord.
So then it is the evolvement of the yoga.
Ananda comes only in a relationship with a person, right? Ananda, that we know that Sat is the feature of eternality, which is in personal Brahman, and Chit is for the super soul, Paramatma, right? Sat and therefore Ananda is whom? Bhagavan, right? So here Bhagavatim, right? Bhagavatim. So what does that mean? And then Ananda is described. So that cannot be possible in just super soul relationship. See here, perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in his constitutional state. Right?
This is then a devotee, not a yogi. Then
Yeah. So once one perfect comes to that stage of, what is that stage of perfect? Yogi nam api sarvesham madhyatenantaratmana Shardhavan Bhaste Omam Same Yuktatma Mataha 647, right? So that is the perfect yogi who is rendering devotional service to Bhagavan.
Got it. So the yogi has moved ahead and
When they understand, when they mature, then they render devotional service to Bhagavan, and then it is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible.
Okay, thank you, Mother.
And the verse itself is saying it's not that Srila Prabhupada is making it up.
Yeah, because yes, as you pointed out, that is saying Anandam and bliss is there.
So verse number 32, this is the last of this section. Someone wants to read 8:15. Wow, time passed so fast today. Okay, let's quickly read this one and then maybe we can chant one round. Okay, someone wants to read? Okay, let me read. Ete shruti te nripaved gite Dvoya viprashte cha sanatane cha yeve pura brahman ahatushta aradhito bhagavan vasudevaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Your Majesty Maharaj Parikshit, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Purport: the two different ways of reaching the spiritual sky and thereby getting emancipation from all material bondage, namely either the direct process of reaching the kingdom of God or the gradual process through the other higher planets of the universe, are set forth exactly according to the version of the Vedas. The Vedic version in this connection are Yada Sarve Parmuchyante Kama Ye Asya Hridi Shritaha Atha Marteyo Amrato Bhavati Atra Brahma Samshnute. Brahma Arneka Upanishad 4.4.7 and Terchir Abhisambhavanti Bharad Arnekya Upanishad 6.2.15. Those who are free from all material desires, which are diseases of the heart, are able to conquer death and enter the kingdom of God through the Archi planets. These Vedic versions corroborate the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the latter is further confirmed by Sukadev Goswami, who affirms that the truth was disclosed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Vasudev to Brahma, the first authority on the Vedas. The disciplic succession holds that the Vedas were uttered by Lord Krishna to Brahma, by Brahma to Narada, by Narada to Vasudev, and then by Vasudev to Sukadev Goswami, and so on. So there is no difference between the versions of all the authorities. The truth is eternal, and as such, there cannot be any new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. It is not a thing to be understood by one's erudite scholarship or by the fashionable interpretations of mundane scholars. There is nothing to be added and nothing to be subtracted, because the truth is the truth. One has to accept, after all, some authority. The modern scientists are also authorities for the common man for some scientific truths. Modern scientists are also authorities for the common man for some scientific truths. The common man follows the version of the scientist. This means that the common man follows the authority. The Vedic knowledge is also received in that way. The common man cannot argue about what is beyond the sky or beyond the universe. He must accept the versions of the Vedas as they are understood by the authorized disciplic succession. In the Bhagavad Gita, also the same processes of understanding the Gita is stated in the 4th chapter. If one does not follow the authoritative version of the acharyas, he will vainly search after the truth mentioned in the Vedas. So vainly. Sukadev Goswami is now concluding his question asked by the Parikshit Maharaj, and he is speaking about the two paths of going back to Godhead. One is direct liberation attained by Paramatma meditator, and it was described in 15th to 21 verse, and then gradual liberation attained by the Virat Rupa meditator, described in 22 to 31. Right? So there are two: Virat Rupa meditation or the Paramatma meditation. So two different types. And that Srila Prabhupada in the purport is mentioning that this is given in other Upanishads also, this Brad Arnika Upanishad, and the way to know it is by disciplic succession. So other than that, there is no other way for us to understand the path. And then without knowing, how can we reach somewhere? So once we know, then only we can get there. And we all have this, how Srila Prabhupada is saying, that common man has to accept the authority as they are accepting the authority of the scientists. And scientists don't know many things. So for that, we need to accept the authority of the Vedas. And how there are, like, we know why should we accept the authority of the Vedas? Because those are aporoshya, means it's not spoken by somebody who is contaminated with the 4 defects. All of us, including the scientists, all living entities have 4 defects, right? What is that? Tendency, the imperfect senses, tendency to make mistake, propensity to cheat, and being illusioned, right? So, but when we cannot see, if my senses are imperfect, how can I see beyond my range of seeing? So we need to accept the authority of the Vedas in disciplic succession. So basically the message from the members of the disciplic succession will come the same. Yeah, so it's 8:22. Somebody wants to add something, say something, correct something. Okay. If not, then let us do one round of japa. Thank you, dear devotees, very much for your kind association. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Jai Patita